The Guardian Sport report Arsenal look to finalize £42 million signing of Italy defender Ricardo Calafiori. Let's talk a little bit. First of all, I think just like I talked about Xerxes, right? Calafiori for £42 million for me is very good value. Very, very good value. And that's even past the Euro 2024 campaign that he just had, which for me was kind of like his coming out to the mainstream media performances. Everybody got to see him on the big screen. And he did his thing. Calafiori was one of the more impressive performers for what was, let's be real, a subpar Italy team. But what I want you guys to realize here is that he didn't just spawn out of nowhere this Euros. Calafiori had an excellent Serie A season this past season with Bologna. Obviously, Bologna were one of the shocks in Europe in general, right? Of all like the smaller teams to do very well in their league campaign, they were one of them, making the Champions League for the first time in forever. Thiago Motta was obviously the coach. They had him. They had Xerxes up front. They play some of the best football in Serie A and probably in Europe as well too. And I think, truthfully, from what I was reading, Juventus were very keen on bringing Calafiori to the club. But I think Bologna, okay, Thiago Motta went over there. They weren't trying to send anybody else over there, which, to be fair, probably speaks about Serie A at the moment, but also probably speaks to the project that Thiago Motta is looking to build over at Juventus. Bologna were not trying to strengthen a rival. And instead, it looks now like he's on his way to Arsenal. Now, where does he fit in? I think it's interesting, right? Because this is probably a position where Arsenal are pretty stacked in. Arteta has definitely made it very, very clear that he loves these wide, physical, big, strong, aggressive, wide center backs. Whether it's Ben White, who he's converted now into a full-time right back, Tomiyasu, who can play on either side, Jakub Kiwior, even Gabriel, right? He plays as a left center back, but he's very, very adept at kind of popping into those wide areas and defending from wide. Calafiori, it appears like he's going to be the next one for Arteta. He is a left center back, but I think Arteta is going to use him as a left back. And in fact, that's what the Guardian was kind of saying today. He wants to turn him into his inverted left back that's able to kind of pop into midfield positions, carry the ball forward, be adept in kind of in possession. To be honest, he's going to be what he wanted Lisandro Martinez to be 2 years ago. That's what Calafiori is going to be for Arsenal. The interesting thing, though, is where does he kind of fit into the current dynamic that they have? Because I think when everyone is fit, right? Ben White is the right back. I think Ben White is his guy. At center back, it appears like Gabriel and Saliba is his trusted duo. At left back, though, I was pretty convinced that Jurrien Timber was going to be playing there. Because Timber is also one of those guys, right, who was playing as a wide center back for Ajax, inverting into midfield, being very touch dominant in the middle of the park. But now it appears like Calafiori is going to be his option on the left-hand side. So where does that leave Timber? Maybe he's going to be depth for Ben White. Maybe he's going to be depth for Calafiori. Maybe Calafiori is going to be depth for him. One thing is for sure, though. Arteta is stacking his team up defensively, bro. When you look at the defensive options that Arsenal have at their disposal now, it's crazy. Tomiyasu, Ben White, Jakub Kiwior, Calafiori, Jurrien Timber, Gabriel, William Saliba, even Zinchenko, right? He's still at the club. Those are solid defensive options, bro. Solid defensive options. And it kind of just reinforces the idea that Arsenal are probably the best defensive side on the planet at the moment. Honestly, the defensive options that they have, the way they commit defensively, the big, strong physical aspect of their defensive game, they're probably at this moment the best defensive team on the planet, in my opinion. And as we see with Calafiori, and as we see with City as well too, right? The best always want to get better. Did Man City necessarily need Josko Gvardiol last year? Probably not. But to maintain your position at the top, you need to keep improving year on year on year on year. And a signing in Gvardiol that we were kind of wondering, okay, how does he fit in if they already have Stones and Diaz and this guy and Akanji and Ake? Gvardiol was one of their most important players in crunch time of the season. So just kind of like that, Arsenal, they're going to be looking to put together a third consecutive title-challenging season. And in my opinion, we're going to talk about it as the season kind of gets closer and closer, it's crunch time for Arsenal this year. For me, it's they must now put a serious, and I'm talking serious, right? If they don't win the Premier League this season, I can't lie, yo. Look, it's never, I want to say a failure to not beat Pep in a season, but it's going to be a massive disappointment if for the third season in a row, they keep strengthening and they still can't beat City to a league title. It's going to be massively disappointing. And I think signings like Calafiori help strengthen their title challenge. Don't get it twisted. They're going to still need a left winger, in my opinion. They're going to still need probably another option up front. And they're definitely going to need a left central midfielder. 1000% that's the case. But I'm sorry, signing players like Calafiori to an already super strong defense is never a bad thing. And it's only going to make them improve, in my opinion. How is he going to help us win the Prem? I think he just gives you another option, right? In Jakub Kiwior, who kind of played for the second half of the season, right? Zinchenko started the season, but at one point, Kiwior kind of became the guy at left back. Me personally, chat, I'll be very honest with you guys. I'm not a big Jakub Kiwior fan. If you actually ask me for my honest opinions, I think at best, he's just a good player. at best. When he's not at his best, I find him, to be honest with you, pretty average. I can't lie. I think you can find a Jakub Kiwior closing your eyes and just going to any of the big leagues and picking out a player. I think Arteta's system elevated the level of player he is. I'm not a huge Jakub Kiwior fan. The way people were talking about him last year, kind of when he came into the team, for me, he's no different to the role that Wes Brown played for United at times and John O'Shea played at United at times. He can play all across the back four, defensively solid, decent with the ball at his feet, but for me, nothing special. In Calafiori, for me, you have an upgrade on Kiwior in almost every single sense, and especially with the ball at his feet. We're going to see some of his comps, right? But one thing that we didn't see as much from Calafiori, at the Euros, but we definitely saw for Bologna is his ability to carry the ball from deep. It is sensational, chat. In fact, he picked up a few goals and assists by doing that. And the goal that Zaccagni scores against Croatia at the death for Italy, it comes from one of those kind of gut-busting runs from Calafiori up the pitch. We're going to see his comps, but he is very, very good at that. So for me, how does he kind of fit into the team? How does he make you better? Instead of playing Kiwior, you're playing an upgrade on Kiwior. I'm sorry, this guy's better than Kiwior, man. He is better than Kiwior. I think Arteta will ease Timber in. He's had a pretty serious injury. Also, in my opinion, Arteta wants to have different backlines for different games. Definitely agree with that last part, but I don't think he'll have to ease Timber in because he's been back for a minute now. He was playing games for the youth team towards the end of the season. He's now had a full season of recovery. He's going to come into preseason ready to play. So I hear you in terms of easing him in, but I don't think he's going to need that much time to get back to, like, he's probably right now back to his best. Maybe a little match maybe he's not match fit completely because you need to be playing high intensity games. But Timber is no longer injured now, chat. Like preseason, you are going to throw Timber in there to test how ready he actually is. And I think he will be. Here's another thing too, chat. Saliba played every single minute of every single game last season in the Premier League. Gabriel played large portions of the season. He missed the first few games, right, where Arteta was experimenting. But after like 10 games, Gabriel was a starter and played almost every minute for the rest of the season. Calafiori now gives you an option to alternate your back four. It gives Saliba and Gabriel some off time at least. I guess it strengthens them, but let's be real. He shouldn't be your priority signing when you got so many positions to fill in that would probably cost a lot. I definitely agree, right? Arsenal have bigger priorities than signing Calafiori. But I don't think it has to be a case of like, oh, sign these players and then sign Calafiori. Like, you can be working on numerous deals at the same time. And I don't know what team you support, but me, for example, I'm a United fan. And I think United fans they have to think like that. Maybe not with a new regime. But for us, it seems like we can't work on numerous deals at the same time. We can only work on one thing at a time. But with Arsenal, I don't see why there's any reason why they can't be working on Calafiori while at the same time negotiating for an Eze, or speaking to Osimhen's representation, or speaking to, I don't know, Desiree Doué. Like, there's no reason why you can't be working on different deals at the same time. You guys understand what I'm saying? To be honest, my biggest problem is how structured, tactical the team is. Everything is calculated, and I honestly believe Arsenal is the best in the world right now tactically. However, I feel we seriously believe Arteta needs to free up some players. Example, our wingers are constantly tracking back, pinning back the opposition fullbacks. I need to see them with more freedom and space to wreak havoc. Yeah, I hear that. There's definitely some players at Arsenal, in my opinion, that warrant having more individual freedom, but also at the same time I think that's the direction the game is kind of going towards. Arteta might be an extreme in that sense, but I think that's the direction that most managers and most footballing sides are kind of going towards. That's kind of the way I view things. And also, I understand there's some players, in my opinion, at Arsenal that need more freedom, like a Saka, for example, and Odegaard. Odegaard, for me, has the freedom. I don't think Odegaard kind of has like his hands tied behind his backs, but also, I'm of the opinion, guys, I don't think Arsenal's individuals are that great. Like, I think they have some very good individuals, but I also think like it's a better system. It's a better unit than it is a bunch of individuals.